Shall we get into some BFLs?
Yeah, sure thing.
All right.
Everybody, welcome to the BFL Weekly Update.
All right, Jody, what went down in BFLs this weekend?
All right, so this weekend we had 6 BFLs.
Oofta.
That is an expression.
That's a Minnesota expression, I think.
Oofta?
Or like Norwegian or Scandinavian. Oofta.
All right,
Anyways,
oofta.
People don't say that in Vermont, huh?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
We might say oof, but we wouldn't add "the" to it.
Goofs, because that's what Vermont is full of.
Real funny there, Joe. Anyhow, let's actually talk about BFLs for a little bit, anyhow. Mississippi Division fished on Lake Ferguson. Jeff Johnston caught 17 pounds, 9 ounces, took home the W.
Okay. How'd he do it?
He made a pretty long run. I think he said it was a 25-mile run down the Mississippi. Lake Ferguson, if you don't know, it's sort of a backwater thing off the Mississippi, and you can get out into the main river.
Okay.
But anyhow, he ran down to an area where the water was dropping and coming across a flooded roadbed. And he had his boat in about 15 feet of water or so and was fishing the sort of top and side of this roadbed, which had like some bushes on it and some current and stuff like that. Really unique spot. And he caught 6 bass all day on a spinnerbait and flipping a pit boss. And they were the 6 right bass.
Yeah.
He brought in 5 of them for 17.9. Had a great day, picked up the W.
All right. Congratulations to Jeff Johnson. Was this his first BFL win?
I don't know.
Okay.
I believe not. I think it was maybe his 3rd or 4th. He's definitely picked up at least 1 or 2 wins in the Mississippi Division, I believe. At least from what I can recall.
I'm pulling up his profile right now, so I'll be able to tell you exactly how many BFL wins Mr. Johnston has had. He's had 4 career wins with FLW, so this is his 4th win of his career.
Yeah, and a lot of them in the Mississippi Division, right?
All of them in the Mississippi Division. This was actually his first win on Lake Ferguson, though. He's got four wins, 4 different lakes, all in Mississippi. But
what lakes are they?
The Columbus Pool, Tunica, Grenada, and now Ferguson.
See, all those are on the Mississippi River, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So they're, depending on if he decides to lock or something, he could be fishing the same spot every time. I don't know. I'm just saying. They're not. They're different lakes, but they're not totally different lakes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Anywho, next up, Buckeye Division on the Ohio River. We're getting into that season now. These guys went out of Tanner's Creek. Frank McLean caught 11 pounds, 8 ounces, which is a really pretty good bag for the Ohio River, to be honest. And I'm going to let him talk a little bit about how his day went right now.
The bad thing was I didn't get to practice for this tournament, so I just went on I hadn't been actually to Tanner's Creek on Ohio River since last fall. So I was just winging it because I've been busy with work and stuff. But I heard a lot of bad news about fishing was really tough. So I knew the river was coming up, so I made a long run down to the dam and just started fishing some flats and some creeks. And by 9:20 in the morning, I had my limit. Just basically just waiting. I did end up calling 5 times, but the magic bait was just a hogback buzz bait. But I was using a special one. It was a quarter ouncer, and it had a special colored blade. I can't tell you that part, but I hit 4 different creeks, and I caught fish in all 4 creeks, all on the buzz bait. I was just covering water, and because I didn't get to practice, and luckily the ones I caught were big ones. There was a lot of bait around, but like I said, the river's up a little bit, so the stumps, they all did come off the stumps. But what it was, you'd see a dark spot because the water was up, and so I knew the stumps. I knew the area pretty good anyway, so I knew where the stumps were. You could just see dark spots, and you had to throw that little bitty buzz bait, that little 8-ounce buzz bait, over top them dark spots. And it's kind of funny because the bait was basically fry, kind of like a shad fry. It wasn't bass fry, it was shad fry. And they were right on top of the stump. So whenever you'd see the shad kind of flicker, and and you knew that there was a stump underneath that shad, because they use that as cover, kind of.
All right.
Well, the bass would be down on that stump, down lower, and whenever you brought your buzzbait through, you'd flush the bait, and they'd come up and eat your buzzbait. So it happened pretty quick. Once I caught that first one, I knew what to look for, and that's why I ran around to 4 different creeks looking for that same deal. It was a good day. Like I said, by 9:26, I looked at my watch. 9:26, I had a limit.
And that's pretty much how McLean's day went. I mean, he's obviously got a lot of experience there. He's had some success there before. And the
6 career wins, all in the Hoosier BFL division.
Yeah, cool, good deal. Most of them on the Ohio River. I think he's got one on Patoka.
5 of the 6. Yep, and 1 on Patoka. Correct.
I mean, I looked these guys up beforehand. I just didn't necessarily remember all of it. I don't want to, be quoted on all these things.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's
anyhow,
what I'm here for, buddy. Fact checking.
Good man. So he had a great tournament, and he added to the ledger of wins that hogback lures have. These Ohio River tournaments seem to be won almost exclusively on hogback lures, buzzbaits, and spinnerbaits. It's just like gambler lures on Okeechobee. It's ridiculous. It's another one of those regional things that seems like everybody throws them.
That's the deal.
I guess so.
Congratulations to Frank McLean.
Next, the North Carolina division fished High Rock. We were on High Rock just like a week ago, I think, maybe 2 weeks ago. Jeff Chandler picked up the W. He caught 19 pounds, 7 ounces. And I'm going to let him talk a little bit about how his day went right now.
The first thing I did was went and tried to catch some top water. I threw a buzzbait, went to the back of the creek, and I had one bite. That was my biggest fish. Probably pushed 5 pounds. And in June, at High Rock, fish are going to be on docks. And with the water falling, for some reason the fish don't leave the docks. So with the water falling, I just fished the floaters. That's basically what I did all day. At 8:30, I had about 18 pounds, and I probably caught 11 keepers, but I only called one fish that I had caught from the morning. I thought I would be in contention. I thought it would probably take 21 pounds to win.
So Chandler fished a buzzbait in the morning, obviously, and then he threw a jig on the docks, which is great. That's why I always write in jig. He was throwing a rattleback jig. And the interesting thing to me was that, one, all his docks had to have some brush on them. He never caught fish off docks that didn't have brush. And he also had almost his entire limit by like 8:30 in the morning, which is unusual for a dock pattern. Typically, if you're fishing docks, that's something that goes on throughout the day.
Yeah, it's
it gets
kind of a
better.
grind.
Yeah, it gets better, as the sun gets higher and the fish get positioned more tightly. But he had something going where he was running just the right docks in the morning and made it work out. So that was a really cool win.
He is a stick on High Rock, too. Looking at his stats here,
baby.
6 top 10 finishes in BFL competition on High Rock alone. He's got 9 all day. Finally picked up the first win of his career this weekend, which is always cool to see. These guys that have been doing it for a long time and finally get over that hump and get the win. Congratulations, Jeff Chandler. That's awesome.
For sure. I mean, it just goes to show how much has to go right for you to get a win, even at the BFL level. I mean, a guy who can make... A lot of these guys have a lot of top 10s on individual bodies of water, and for it to finally work out where they can pick up the W is really cool. Alrighty. Next up, Music City Division on Old Hickory. Anthony Nash caught 18 pounds, 12 ounces. And I'm going to let him talk about his day right now.
Well, I started out shallow yesterday morning. Caught the limit pretty quick, first hour and a half or so up shallow, flipping 3/8 cream pumpkin jig, DL jig, and it kind of the area I was in kind of got crowded after a couple hours fishing. There's quite a few boats come in, got crowded on me, so I went out to the main lake and fished a couple just offshore brush piles, man-made brush piles. in the main lake area, about 10, 12 foot, and I had a couple, 2 or 3 different brush piles and caught two 5-pounders, one out of each brush pile out on the main lake, and stayed out there for about an hour, hour and a half, and couldn't get any more bites. So I made a pretty good run up the lake to Spring Creek, Bart's Creek area, and it was pretty windy and overcast, and I went shallow and started swimming a 1/2 ounce homemade swim jig, and ended up catching the rest of what I caught up there. Probably caught 20 keepers or so up there, and culled out. And caught another 5-pounder and culled out to what I had.
All right, so I just realized I say the same thing to introduce their audio segments every time.
I'm going to let him talk about his day right now.
Yeah, that's okay, though.
Yeah.
What I'm going to say now is that...
You come out of every interview, we do the same way, too. So, Joe.
I know, but I like doing that.
I know. It's a good transition.
I'm not going to stop that.
I think your lead in to the BFL audio interviews is great, too.
All right. Well, thank you, Joe. Anyhow, Nash caught his fish on a flipping jig with an 8-inch zoom lizard on it. That's how he caught his fish in the morning. Then, in the afternoon, he was catching his fish on a homemade swim jig with a particular swim bait that he didn't want to tell me what it was. It was a top secret swim bait.
Oh, come on, Anthony.
Well, the whole thing gave me an impression that he's just really dialed in on Old Hickory. I mean, he fished 2 brush piles and caught 2 5-pounders. In the morning, he's throwing an 8-inch lizard on a jig. Nobody does that. Like, he knew what was going on, and then he's got a top secret swim jig for the afternoon. So I just thought that was really cool that he's one of those guys, obviously, who really knew what they were doing.
This is the second angler in 2 days that has not given us the details on their swim bait because they didn't want to share those secrets.
A second angler in 2 days. Who are you talking about for the other one?
A guy that finished in the FLW Tour Top 10 by the name of Clint Davis was throwing a pretty good swim bait at Kentucky Lake, but didn't want to reveal it, so I can understand that.
Well, Joe, I'm not going to say anything about that because Clint Davis is a lot bigger than me. So, you have fun getting beat up by Clint Davis. And we'll
but back to Anthony Nash, though. No, hang on. Congratulations to Anthony for picking up the first win of his FLW career after 6 previous top 10 finishes. So,
good stuff. Next up is the Michigan Division on Lake St. Clair. Smallmouth, baby. Scott Dobson caught 21 pounds, 11 ounces.
Now, was he fishing? You kind of asked Skip about this, where he prefers to fish up here. Did he fish out of Lake Erie? Did he take Skip's advice to win the tournament?
Well, Joe, it's funny you talk about Skip because Scott asked me about Skip. He was like, hey, did you get to talk to Skip? He's a cool guy. He's a good smallmouth stick. So I just thought that was interesting. He did not fish in Lake Erie. He fished in Lake St. Clair, which he prefers to fish early in the season. He thinks July and on is the time, or July, August is the time to fish in Erie. He thinks later in the year, September, October, and earlier in the year, or June and whatnot, is the time to fish in St. Clair. So we got that breakdown from him. He threw a Lucky Craft pointer. Pretty much caught about 85% of his fish on it, he said. And man, he caught a ton of fish. He said he culled like 15 4-pounders. I mean, he was just having a great day, crushing them.
Scott's actually had a lot of experience with FLW. He fished the FLW Tour as a professional from 2003 to 2009. He's fished over 140 events with us, 33 top 10 finishes, 3 career wins. This was number 3 for him. So
yeah,
he's definitely a stick up in Michigan.
For sure. So congrats to Scott.
Yes.
He was a really good interview, too. He was just a nice guy to talk to. Which, I mean, all these guys are, but Scott's
Well, if that's the case, then how come we didn't hear any of that interview?
Well, because I was doing it while I was riding back up, and I actually did it somewhere around St. Louis.
You were in the car when you...
I did it in St. Louis. I was scribbling down on one, on one leg on my pad
looking
paper.
at the arch out the window as the interview is going on.
Yes, something like that. I was making it happen. So that was the Scott Dobson situation.
Okay.
And then finally, we'll wrap up this week with the weekends.
Hang on. Before we wrap this up, which one of these tournaments did Marcus Sikora take top 10 in?
I honestly don't think he fished any of them.
What? Well, no. He always finishes in the top 10 every single weekend.
Joe, go check his profile. He might have.
He didn't go over to Georgia and fish this last Bulldog division event?
He might have fished the Mississippi one.
He travels the country crushing these BFLs. It's kind of surprising that he must have just taken the weekend off.
Big shock.
Taken the weekend off.
Tooken.
Also, there's my great Minnesota vocabulary.
Oh, Tooken is a particular Minnesota
thing?
No,
I don't think so. I think it's just poor vocabulary.
All right. Good work, Joe. Next up, and finally, is the Bulldog division on Lake Eufaula. Jay Grogan caught 23 pounds, 14 ounces, big bag of the weekend. And I'm going to let him talk just a little bit about how his day went.
Started off early in the grass, swimming jigs and working, the shallow grass mid-lake. That's where I caught my big fish, 7-11, I think it was. We stayed in the grass most of the morning because the clouds were stayed in till about lunch, and then we kind of moved out and fished kind of 6-8 foot stuff, just scattered stumps, scattered trash piles and whatnot. And later the day after the sun got out, and finished up, caught 2 out there, caught 3 in the grass, and then 2 further out. The water's up, and I think that since it's the mayfly hatch, the brim are pretty shallow bedding, and I think that's just what's got the bigger fish up. And you just got to see, to catch any of the size, that seems to be where it's coming from is that early morning grass bite. I think I finished second, third, fourth. I finished everywhere else in the top 10 in these events. It's the first one I've ever won.
So Grogan obviously had a good day, had him, to an extent dialed in. He knew the areas he wanted to target. He threw, in his deep stuff, he threw a big zoom worm on a Texas rig. Real classic, deep water brush type deal. And up shallow, he was throwing a strike zone swim jig, which was a watermelon color, and, he had it. I say these guys all had him dialed in, but, he obviously, he had a pretty good day. And when you catch a 7-11, that's an awesome way to have your day go. Which 7-11 wasn't even the big fish of that tournament, by the way. I think the big fish was 8 pounds. So, Eufaula, fishing pretty good. Maybe a cool place to go if you guys are like, hey, I'm in Alabama, I want to go catch some hogs. That's it for me.
Two things that I wanted to talk about real quick about the Jay Grogan win. Obviously, he's a stick on Eufaula. I'm looking at his record right now. He's got 6 top 10 finishes there, 1 victory, everything at Eufaula, and that's only in 16 events. So, of the 16 events he's fished, top 10 in 6 of them, and he won 1. Another interesting note on this tournament, in second place, Ryan Ingram. Am I correct there?
Yes, he won earlier.
Yes, he was the big guy that everybody was kind of scared of last year when the FLW Tour was at Lake Eufaula. He had specifically joined up and fished the tour to fish that Eufaula one event and was a huge favorite going in. Kind of stumbled and didn't really have a satisfactory performance from his point of view, but finished second here, and you can still see he's still dominating down on Eufaula.
Yeah, Grogan was talking about how he and Ingram sort of go back and forth fishing on Eufaula and know each other pretty well, and that's always something they look out for. So I thought that was cool, and I'm glad you brought that
Friendly rivalry.
For sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the BFL Weekly Update. For more like this, check out the rest of the FLW podcast, flwoutdoors.com or on iTunes.